So, you want to be a dungeon master.
So you want to be a dungeon master.
So you want to be a dungeon.
So you want to be a dungeon master.
So, you want to be a dungeon master.
That's great. We're here to help. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Justin. This week, we're putting our heads together in the name of integrity, justice, and all that's good in this world. Because this past January in 2025, we were a small part of the charity drive to raise over $40,000 to help Doctors Without Borders. And that wouldn't have been possible without the incredible people who donated. This includes Ryan, who donated to the cause, and in return, Taylor and I are going to create a custom subclass for him. The requirements are such: Cowboy themed bard or artificer. Ryan enjoys One Piece and a mix of roleplay and combat, and has been working on the idea of a College of Humility bard. We're going to see if we can put all of those things together in various ways. We have our work cut out for us. Let's get into it. But first...
But first...
Who's going to be my first? Taylor, where do you... When you think of cowboys, and just that as the most umbrella term thing ever for an entire theme, genre, what have you, where do you particularly draw inspiration from? What comes to mind, and how do you get those things?
Well, my grandfather, as many grandfathers,
Was a cowboy.
was not a cowboy.
Like
was
most
not a
of our
cowboy, but
grandpas.
was obsessed with John Wayne, or is obsessed with John Wayne.
Yes.
Freaking loves that guy. So I've watched a lot of John Wayne movies. I've watched a lot of what is that show? Bonanza.
Okay.
He's like, yeah. So he loves Westerns. So like this whole thing, I've watched a lot of like those old movies and shows of like just, this is what it was like back in Texas back in the day. And like fucking prospectors and all kind of gunslingers and all that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So a lot of places, I guess, is the answer.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely am in a similar place, but slightly off kilter from that. My dad, I don't think, paid any extra attention to John Wayne, but did love Westerns, specifically ones that had like pieces of comedy in them. There's a couple, like My Local Sheriff. I can't remember the full titles and stuff, but I also then got into spaghetti westerns. A lot of Mr. Leone doing some crazy things with Clint Eastwood and others. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Once Upon a Time in America, like or in the West. Like there's so many really intense ones. There's one with oh God, what's his name? He's in the oh no, my brain is blanking on old movies. Mr. Fonda, I can't remember his first name. Jane Fonda's dad.
I got
What the
nothing.
hell is his name? Henry Fonda. Henry Fonda. I apologize. I'm so sorry. But anyway, he was in a spaghetti western movie, and he was like, I don't want to do any more movies. He was kind of closing towards like retirement. Was like, I'm not interested in westerns. And the way that the director was able to pull him in to be cast in the movie was telling him, because he had just come off of that like courtroom movie where they're all in a jury. It's like 12 Angry Men or something like that, you know? And he's the good guy. And he's always been the good guy in most of his movies, Henry Fonda. And Sergio Leone was like, I'm going to have you be the villain. The whole movie's going to start with you shooting a kid, and then the camera's going to go from your shoes all the way up to your bright blue eyes, and they'll find out that Henry Fonda is the villain in the story. And he was like, I'm in. And so I think of these like really dramatic but also cinematic things, you know, in the way that like Kill Bill feels Western in ways, even though it's like very much not a cowboy thing. It just has that sort of energy, the long sweeping one shots, the landscape things, you know, the slow moments where you're just kind of sitting in quiet. Oof.
Yeah.
I freaking love it. Not to mention like the quick shots and like going back and forth, the crazy music. I am a big fan.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm
how much
excited
do you,
for this.
I'm also excited, although feeling a little overwhelmed because it's not as if Ryan asked us to include every single little piece. It's just if we can do it, let's do it. So I kind of feel like a tattoo artist when like somebody comes in and they're like, okay, so I want this is a piece for my grandfather, and he loved clocks, but also tigers and his initials, and just like adding on so many things. It's like, Jesus, okay.
How do I
you
make
love the
all
concept
this
of
go together?
space. It's incredible. So, in terms of One Piece, like on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you put yourself?
Like a 2 as far as knowledge.
Yeah, I'm about a 4 myself. I think I got 300 or so episodes deep.
Yeah, we were talking about it before we started recording, but like I've already done the deep dive with one anime of watching every single freaking episode ever made about it, and that was with Naruto, and I don't know if I'm ready to be hurt again. I know One Piece is even more. Yeah. And I don't know. It's been a long time. It's a lot of time to commit to watching it. Yeah.
It really is. The thing with One Piece that really killed me, and it's not One Piece's fault, this is purely a technology thing. I can't remember what platform I was watching it on, but I'm watching it, and I think it was on Hulu. I don't know, of all places. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. But like, it didn't do the skip intro or like skip to the next episode when the outro is starting to play. So you had to manually do that every time. And that destroyed me. The amount of time I spent fast forwarding through the intro was like grueling. That killed me because the episodes are like 22 minutes. Mm-hmm. You know, so you're doing it so often.
Like,
It killed me. That killed me. Truly ruined the experience. But I did love One Piece. It started off so
it's a really
colorful
fun series,
and comical to a point where I almost didn't like it. You know, I was kind of like put off by it. It was just
so goofy. Yeah,
fantastical. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then
that's kind of one of the things that I really enjoyed about it, though. Yeah, I really enjoy how vibrant that whole world is.
Oh, yeah, it's insane. Just the proportions on people's bodies, like, it's so comic booky, like, so goofy, Looney Tunes. But then I'll tell you, that first arc where Nami goes back to Fishman Island, or not Fishman Island, like her home that the fishmen have taken over, that like sawfish shark man or whatever that Luffy fights eventually. Dude, that whole scene of her like cutting her own tattoo off her arm, and then Luffy puts his hat on her head and is like, we're friends, like I'm gonna go fight this guy. So intense. They did it in the live action as well, and they actually did it, I think, pretty well. But in terms of gunslingers, One Piece, it's sort of transitioning into the meat of the episode. My biggest like thought in my head is Usopp. He's not necessarily guns. He's using slingshots most of the time, but he is considered in many regards the sniper of the team.
He really is, though. He's got that eye for hitting his mark more times than not.
Yeah. Huge redemption arc. A lot of fun. That character is very silly. Plays that sort of arc of being a scaredy cat, but then pulling through when it's necessary.
Yeah.
And that's definitely one way. We didn't talk about this beforehand. That'd be a funny way to do the humility aspect of just being like terrified. just being like so scared.
Really socially awkward. Yeah.
Just being like, wait, we're battling who? I don't know if that's a good idea, guys.
I don't think that. I don't know, you guys.
They're big.
Yeah.
Hey, gang. We wanted to talk to you about something pretty important real quick. See, we have some really cool ideas for the future, but we need your help. You can do that by supporting us through our Patreon. At the lowest tier, you get early access to podcast episodes, access to episodes of Action Surge, our post-session table talk show, and entry into a private channel on our Discord server. At the next tier, you can get access to Bonus Action, our bonus content podcast where we talk about a huge variety of D&D and TTRPG related things, like Multi-Class Mystery Mashup, where we get 2 random classes and have to build a character, or Monster Matchmaker, where we go over our favorite monsters at each CR level, or recaps of our home campaign, plus so much more. Joining the Patreon helps us continue to grow and put out content that gets better and better as we learn, improve, and try new things. So, check out the link in the description to join the gang today.
Yeah, so I think let's go ahead and start transitioning fully into the meat here, because I think we were talking about before we were talking about one way to play this character with this College of Humility, and having them be like a retired gunslinger. Mm-hmm. Like an older person who has done all the crazy gunslinging back in the day, but has kind of gone towards the, in more of the twilight years of their lives.
Somebody who's like seen it all, like very wise, like seasoned, you know what I mean? Like in the wrinkles of his face, you can see the past duels and all of the seeing the good, the bad, and the ugly of being a gunslinger. Like probably has history moments of, I don't know, like times where he like robbed a bank or did something insane, like took down another gunslinger in broad daylight, whatever it may be. But
he's kind of
one reason or another has gone past that point of
he doesn't really have the need for the accolades anymore. Kind of.
Right.
Not
it
really
could be, I think,
looking to distinguish himself any more than he already is.
Absolutely. And I think here's the fun like role play challenge of it is you as the player playing this vibe of the quote unquote retired gunslinger. You can come up with the reason for that and do it a million different ways. Like maybe it was like an injury. Maybe it was a personal issue. So a loved one got caught in the crossfire. Maybe it was like some reason that they quote unquote hung the pistol up and was like, I'm done being old Wild Bill. I'm just William now. Just call me William actually now. And they're like, what do you mean, Billy the Kid? And you're like, I'm an adult now. I'm a grown up.
Can't have a Y in my name.
I can't have a Y in my name. I'm 45. And in old West times, that's ancient as shit. So yeah, I think that's really fun. The idea that you could come up with the cause of you like not giving up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Putting it behind you, not doing it for the fun, the thrills and stuff. But that it's like a little bit like Jason Bourne, where like those muscle memory things are built in.
Right.
You're John Wick. You're like, hey, I know how to ride the bike. No problem.
Right. Yeah.
So it's this interesting combination of the role play aspect of you playing the character as if they are like drawing on these memories to enact these crazy ass abilities, as opposed to leaning full in and going full showboat, being like, look what I can do.
Right.
That scene from Tombstone. I'm in my prime. And he's just flinging around a cup. I fucking love that scene. They're talking to each other in Latin. Oh my god, that movie kills.
But yeah, so let's get into it. So bards get their subclass abilities at 3, 6, and 14.
14.
So we'll kick it off with our level 3 abilities. Leaning into the kind of humility aspect of it. The first ability that you're going to get is going to be called Thanks Not Necessary. Basically, anytime somebody uses one of your bardic inspirations and they succeed, you and everyone around you within 5 feet get temp HP equal to the number that was on the bardic die. Just kind of one of those things where you don't necessarily like the thanks not necessary aspect is, okay, cool, you did really good. You don't need to thank me. We're okay back here. Like that kind of not.
I don't do it for the accolades.
Prideful, right? I don't do this for me. I do this for you, type of deal.
Yeah.
And then still like giving that person the time to shine, and it's almost like a aura of, you know, pride in your work, but not necessarily like boastful pride. Like, hey, I did a good job. I know I did a good job. I don't need you to tell me that I did a good job.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. playing into the Western vibe of just having like a sheriff be like, "Oh, thanks, not necessary, man. I do it just. This is my job. It's my duty," kind of thing. And
just here to help.
just here to help. Just doing the right thing. And so, obviously, also at level 3, we're gonna give this bard a firearm proficiency. So that just obviously plays into the Western vibes and gives them proficiency in firearms. Now, we're basing our understanding of this subclass in its infancy as we're creating it as using the 2014 rules, just as a heads up. That was the vibe that Ryan pointed us in. And so what you use as firearms for the sake of stats and stuff like that, I mean, there's a ton of examples of stuff you can find online. On the D&D Wikidot included, you can find different stats for historical weapons, futuristic weapons, modern weapons, what have you. I mean, I would steer away personally, and this is just from experience, I would steer away from how Matt Mercer's gunslinger subclass for the fighter uses weapon stats, and that's because he's incorporated misfires and reloading to be very important. And so the guns do more damage than you would normally do with a martial weapon. But it factors in the fact that you could misfire and have to spend your turn fixing your weapon and all this other stuff.
The way that we normally do firearms at our tables is to just reflavor a longbow, hand crossbow, what have you, into a firearm. Basically, you're going to just, it's technically a firearm, and, you know, you can keep track of ammo or not keep track of ammo depending on the table, but it's just easier to reflavor than try to work in the full gun mechanic into a game, unless you're comfortable with that.
That's dealer's choice.
We did not take, well, I'll just go ahead and say we did not take that into account when we were making the subclass. So there might be some stuff that needs to be tweaked. But as far as the firearm proficiency, definitely proficient with firearms. We're also kind of leaning into the more seasoned gunslinger type of thing of, you know, somebody who's retired. So along with the firearm proficiency, you're also going to get the, we're calling it sniper feat. But it's basically going to make it so that any firearm that you use, you ignore the penalty for long range. So you can use it up to whatever its longest range is without having to roll at disadvantage, just because of your time spent with the gun. You know, you kept that accuracy, if nothing else, of your time as a gunslinger.
Yeah. And it also ties in Usopp to the whole thing.
Yeah, Usopp. Yeah, it would work that way too. Yeah, it would definitely work that way too, because Usopp is also super, super accurate. He's just kind of a little wimpy boy.
Yeah. So you want to be at a distance sometimes, and that will benefit you and stuff like that. I think, that's fun. So proficient with firearms, the ability to shoot at further range, and a healing teamwork based bonus to your bardic inspirations when they succeed, all at level 3.
Yeah,
all at level 3.
I think that's a very a beefy yet balanced level, like beginning of a subclass.
100%. I could see a world where, like, if you were introducing this as part of a setting book that had like horses and things that were part of it, you could throw in like animal handling as a proficiency at level 3. That's just like a tiny detail, but that it's like, are your PCs riding horses? Otherwise, whatever. But
is your DM requiring checks for riding the horses too? Because like there's a different thing between riding a broken horse versus a wild one.
A wild one, wild horses. That'd be insane to see wild horses. I literally wouldn't know what to do.
They used to be in my front yard a whole bunch as a kid.
Oh shit! We only had domesticated horses on our farm. But they were crazy.
Yeah, no,
we had one that was a dick.
Like down close to the, basically on the beach, and we had feral horses that would come up from North Carolina through the state park, and then they would, like, you come out one day and they'd just be chilling in the yard eating the fucking beach grass.
That's awesome. That's cool. So, well, hopefully your
so that's it for
campaign
level
has
3.
horses in it because that's some cool ideas. But
Absolutely.
yeah, moving on to level 6. Now,
6.
the first ability is just extra attack, and the idea there, number one, it plays off of the other martial bard classes that get extra attack sometimes at level 6. So because you have access to so many incredible spells, you don't get it at level 5. You have to wait a little longer, but you eventually are able to take 2 attacks when you take the attack action, which makes a ton of sense, gives you a little more martial prowess, and it doesn't stop there.
No.
Playing into the idea that you were once an incredible gunslinger. You have all these tricks up your sleeve. Again, calling on that muscle memory, you can access that repertoire of knowledge and proficiency, and you can do a bunch of cool things with your firearms.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the mechanics of this. I'll tell you the vibe first. The vibe is you're doing trick shots. So
right.
You can access several different types of trick shots. This is no joke or no surprise, a play on Matt Mercer's Gunslinger, who also has trick shots for that subclass. This is a similar idea, but they use a new resource called Grit to determine how many you can do and stuff like that. I was thinking a couple different options for the mechanics of how you access these trick shots. You know, there's on the table you could do it once per turn, once per attack. You could do it. You use a bardic and this happens. You could do it. Number of charisma modifier times per short or long rest, depending. So there's a bunch of options on the table. What are you thinking for how many trick shots one could get?
I think using bardic as fuel for it feels very expensive.
It does feel expensive. That's what I was thinking.
It feels very expensive. Maybe you can do a proficiency bonus number of trick shots per short rest.
Maybe short rest. That means eventually you're going to be able to do 6 per short rest.
Right, which, I mean,
Do we limit it to once per turn?
Yes.
Roger that. In that case, I'm down.
Yeah, you can do 1 trick shot per turn.
Cool. And that makes sense to me. I like that a lot. I think that's a lot of fun because eventually you're going to get you get the extra attack. So now just once per turn using your proficiency bonus number of times, that's dope. That levels up with you. And
now would it take I also kind of want to be an absolute dick about it and make it take both of your attacks.
Interesting. It depends on how good the trick shots are.
Okay.
Fair enough. Know what I mean? Because if it's like only a small little thing of like, oh, you get a +1, it's like, oh, that's garbage.
Okay.
I don't want.
Right.
I'll never do that.
You're right. You're right. Okay.
But if they were like freaking nasty, then I'm down. But if not, so like here's what I have.
What kind of trick shots are we talking about here?
So I have a couple written down that are just crazy ideas that I've been thinking of. I've also been trying to differentiate from Matt Mercer's Gunslinger. I don't want to just jack all of his ideas. So like he has one called Deadeye that gives you advantage. There's dazing, and you can make people drop things or pushing attacks, all kinds of interesting things. But here's what I have. First, I have Ricochet. Just the idea of ricocheting a bullet off of something. I don't know the perfect mechanics of it, but you can bounce a bullet off a wall. I think that's dope as hell.
I would say you can ignore
cover.
Cover, yeah. 1/2 and 3/4 cover.
I love it. And then the next one I have is make them dance. Just that. Okay. I mean, we all know exactly what that means, right? With gunslinging, shooting at people's feet, dance, that kind of typical thing. And I would consider it a grapple. Maybe there's a saving throw in there. I don't know. I think it is doing what grappling does. It's not literally grappling.
Reducing their speed to 0.
Exactly.
I gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So probably a deck save, and then their speed is reduced to 0 until that one I feel like should be both attacks, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know because you could grapple normally.
Yeah,
with just an attack. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This just gives you a way to grapple at a distance, which is
What's
pretty
the range
powerful.
on that?
But I mean, It depends on what the gun is. I don't know if the trick shots have different ranges. It's possible.
Oh, I got you. Up to whatever the gun's range is, so you could make somebody dance with a rifle and be like 120 feet away.
Yeah, you're laying down some serious suppressive fire.
Okay.
Then I have the no look, which is just, again, I'm thinking trick shots. I'm thinking of a gunman who like even performed shows, because we're doing Bard of all classes, right? So it's like there's some kind of performance here. And that's where these trick shots are sort of shining, at least from a role play standpoint, explaining why he's able to do these trick shots. So the no look, just not looking and shooting. Now, this one, my first thought is it does extra damage, but it's at disadvantage. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know if that's a vibe.
I like that. I also kind of like the idea of being able to, like, up to a certain range, up to, like, say, 60 feet, technically blind sense, where you don't need to see your target as long as
that's cool too. I see what you mean.
You can hit them.
I like that. I get that. Yeah, that works too. So for one shot, you can sort of do a no-look shot.
Basically, cover your eyes and still hit them.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I like that. That's fun. And then finally is fan the hammer. Fan the hammer. Here's what I'm thinking. Because we have... Originally, this was a level 3. This is how you work through subclass shit. Originally, it was a level 3 ability, in which case I would have, in that case, had it be like you're shooting at guy A, target A. Right. Anybody within 5 feet of them may also get hit with like a saving throw and take half damage or something like that. But because it's just one of the trick shots and you can do it once per turn a couple of times, I don't know, should it be a 10-foot cube or should it still be that 5-foot radius? Like, how many people are we willing to hit with this dex save, take half damage on a success? Or does it take no damage on a success? I don't know. It's just like an AoE. The idea being there's like an Overwatch character named Cassidy who does this. But you just, that thing where you, like, for people who don't know what fan the hammer means, at least I know Taylor does. But like, you're just hitting the revolver, like switchback. What is the little trigger thing called on the top where your thumb goes?
The hammer.
The hammer.
The hammer, yeah.
Fan the hammer.
That's why it's called fanning the hammer.
Yeah, so you're just running your hand over the hammer very quickly so that with like a classic 6-shooter pistol, you can fire as fast as possible.
The older style revolvers basically were single action revolvers where you had to always pull the hammer back and then pull the trigger. So what they did instead of doing all of that is they would just hold the trigger and then slam the hammer back, and then every time it bounced, and then just basically got rid of the trigger mechanism altogether. Their hand became the trigger. Yeah, the backhand that was fanning the hammer. So that's why that's where that trick kind of comes from. Yeah. So
the question is just how big of an area are we trying to hit? Or you could do a 5-foot radius of the target. You could do a 10-foot, 15-foot
targets,
cube.
Up to 6 targets within 15 feet
of the target,
of the original target. Yeah. So up to 5 additional targets, and then it's a dex save for all of them. And what do we do for damage?
Part of me thinks you just make it a normal shot, but then that would make it you should absolutely be using both actions, both attacks. I mean,
and you're doing that's a huge damage spike from, like, if you can do that every single turn. Think about it just like on a wide range damage standpoint. One target at 1d8 plus 2.
That's why I wanted to make it a smaller thing. Yeah. Not that many. So if it's a 10-foot cube, max 4 people.
Okay.
And they do saving throws, so they could half the damage. And that's why I was also thinking maybe it's just straight up no damage. But I don't know. Because I do want them to be able to get around high ACs, because bards don't. They also have charisma to worry about.
Right. Yeah, I think full in half. Like if they succeed on the dex save, they still kind of get like winged by a bullet.
It was so weird. Incredible.
I'm gonna change something real quick and see if it fixes it.
Amazing.
There we go.
Awesome.
Magic. And
there are our 4 trick shots. Now, obviously, as a DM, feel free to add extra trick shots. You can, whatever.
Yeah.
Because there's also a world where like I could see somebody trying to like make 1,000 different trick shots, and then you could also be like, you're only allowed to know this many trick shots, like how meta magic works or all those different things.
Right.
But that is level 6 for our boy.
Hell yeah.
Pretty beefy. I mean, the amount of cool bard spells that you could combine with this would be so fun.
Yeah, for sure. And then for the for level 14, I came up with an ability called Teamwork Makes the Dream Work. And this is again leading into that humility aspect of things, of, you know, going for the success of the party at your own expense, basically. So with this, once per long rest, you can exchange your remaining hit die, however many you want to give up. So like at a short rest, you're gonna not have them. But you can do 2-to-1 ratio. So for every 2 hit dice you give up, you can get 1 bardic inspiration back.
Yeah, pretty freaking good.
Yeah,
Considering
bards always are running out of. There's really limited amount of bardic inspirations that you can get. So the potential of being able to get a bunch of them back is huge.
Yeah, 100%. Exchange remaining. Teamwork makes the dream work. Exchange remaining hit dice for more bardic uses. Okay. Would it take like an action to do that, or like?
Yeah.
Okay. Sick. Because obviously they recharge on short rests, so it couldn't be.
They do recharge
necessarily
on short rests.
part of a short rest thing.
Okay.
But like as a way to do it in the middle of combat and take away your hit dice, your ability to potentially heal after the battle, it is a pretty big sacrifice, because you could recharge all of your bardics potentially. At level 14, you have 14 hit dice. So if you're
right,
depending on your DM amount of short rests that you guys are taking, you might just have a double-digit hit dice at any given moment, and then with 10, you could burn 10 hit dice and get 5,
and get all of them back. Yeah.
If that feels strong, and I would say if it is that strong, I would say this is the only thing you get at 14.
Yeah,
because like, to put it in perspective, the lore bard I was re-looking today, the College of Lore Bard at level 14 gets Peerless Skill, I think it's called. When you make an ability check, you can add your own bardic to that ability check. And that's it. It's just being able to use bardics on yourself, but only for ability checks. So, not that impressive, if I'm being honest. The Lore Bard lives and dies by the first 2 abilities. And so, I would leave this as is, and this would be the only ability. If you wanted to add a second ability, I would make this a little weaker.
Okay.
But that's only if you wanted to do that.
Just getting one.
You can kind of do it either way.
Like, to make it weaker, you just kind of get 1 back.
1-to-1.
Regardless. Or, yeah, and you can only get, like, up to
a certain amount. Yeah.
Up to a certain amount, like 1 or 2 back.
Yeah.
And that would kind of nerf it a little bit.
For sure. It still would be solid, though.
It would still be great
to be able to get him back.
Even getting any bardics back in the middle of a fight is big.
Yeah, being able to just replenish like that is huge. Yeah, because it's not until 20th level, when you roll initiative and have no uses of bardic, you can regain 1 use. That's a 20th level ability. So at 14th, being able to do it once a day is still awesome.
Yeah.
And so then if we did that, then for the next ability, and this is honestly, the name is just really what allures me to this, is the gun show. And I mean, there's so many silly things that come to mind. There's a part of me that's thinking of, in Marvel Rivals, Star-Lord has that one ability where he kind of flashes in and out and he just shoots in like every direction, almost like a Spider-Man ultimate. And so that is one thing that comes to mind, but that is just like another AoE thing. It's very similar to Fan the Hammer in some regards. I don't know if that would even be a thing. The other idea is maybe like some kind of, again, this is the College of Humility, so I don't know how it would play with that, but I was thinking of the idea of drawing all the attention to yourself. Like, teamwork makes the dream work, but also the kind of self-sacrifice, a little bit of like bringing all the attention to me. I'm the gun show, eyes on me, so that my team can be safe for a brief moment. Kind of like the enthrallment spell but like part of this gun show. I don't know. It could be a state like of significantly weaker, but like the almost like how paladins at 20th level all get like a state that they can enter.
Right.
You know what I mean? And this one is called the gun show, and maybe it just boosts your. It could be really simple too. It could just be like
just boost
for
your
1 minute
shots or something.
once a day you get +1 to your spell save DC and spell attack bonus, or your gun shots or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You could keep it really simple like that, but I think that could be cool. Something there.
Yeah.
Once per day.
It's a great name.
Once per long rest. One time per long rest. Like a performance, like state of being almost that you just become. And I think
you can do 2 trick shots per turn.
Honestly, that's pretty solid.
So instead of only being able to do 1, you can use both of your attacks as trick shots.
2 trick shots per turn. What if I don't want to make it too complicated, but I kind of like this idea of the gun show. You get this huge benefit, 2 trick shots per turn. Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But it has the same mechanical effect as compelled duel, where all the enemies will get
whoever you hit, they've got to come after you next.
Yeah. Targets have disadvantage on all attacks except you until the start of your next turn or something.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah,
the gun
I like that.
And I think we said it last a minute.
Yeah, 1 minute.
Because even then, I think for trick shots, we still gave a limit to the number of trick shots. So it's not like you're going to be OP for the whole minute. It's just
right.
A couple turns. You can decide like this turn I'm going to bang out 2 trick shots. Next turn I cast a spell. Turn after that I do 2 trick shots. You know, you could get real fucking strategic with it, which is why it's so fun. I actually like this a lot because I think with the Bardic spell list, I think the ideas that you could do.
Yeah.
Whoa. So many interesting ideas. Hypnotic pattern, just make a huge group of people completely like blinded and shit. Or they're charmed, but same thing.
Yeah.
While they're charmed, they're incapacitated. So you could just incapacitate a huge crowd of people and then just fucking fan the hammer. Go nuts.
Yeah.
Dude, cast slow on a huge group of people and concentrate on that while from a distance you're just taking shots. Like, there's honestly so many combinations with this class where this is
that's a good one.
Bonkers. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
The retired gunslinger, a.k.a. College of Humility. There it is.
Yes. There it is. Retired gunslinger. Sick as hell, man. And then what I'll say is I started thinking about the artificer idea. Started thinking about an idea of a gunsmith, somebody who's actually doing the inventing of the guns. And
right.
I have some ideas. I don't have the whole thing fleshed out. I can't go through because artificers get their subclass abilities at level 3, 5, 9, and 15.
Yeah.
I don't have everything figured out, but I started working on some ideas of things. And so once again, staying with the cowboy idea, this time, no mention of humility. And I thought a little bit for my One Piece character, like bringing into this. I don't think you would have met this character based on how much you have seen of One Piece, but there's a character named Frankie that eventually joins the crew and stuff, and he becomes like the shipwright, where he can like constantly fix the ship. And he's a mechanic, and he is a shipwright, obviously, and a carpenter, and like a builder. He's literally an artificer.
Right.
And he's big and beefy and strong, and he has like Elvis hairstyle, but it's bright blue. And he is also part machine. Like, he has invented parts of himself. Like, his chest opens up and you can put fuel in it. And for him, for some reason, I think because it is the world of One Piece, the fuel that he runs off of is soda. Like, the idea of making it fizzy and stuff, like almost steam powered, but instead it's like fizzy powered.
Right. I love that. It's
so funny. His hair will go limp. Like, it'll start in a mohawk, and then when it goes limp, he's out of cola. And he'll shoot rockets. He has like, he'll shoot his hand, comes out of his arm like a rocket, and is connected to chains.
Of course it does.
There's a million cool things that he can do with his own body and stuff. So that's a little bit of inspiration there for this character.
Sure.
And
All right.
obviously also playing with the idea of firearms and stuff like that. So at third level, what I have written down as of right now, again, very preliminary, very rough draft. First, I just added the idea that they would get a fighting style.
Okay.
And I named it Ain't My First Rodeo because I love that name. And I only put 3, the same way that like paladins can get fighting style, but they don't get to choose every single one that fighters do. I just kind of limited it to these 3. And also, I didn't spend all day looking at every single fighting style. I just picked 3 good ones. That makes sense.
Yeah, these are good ones, yeah.
So the first one is archery, which you can include firearms in that, obviously. With the artificer, firearm proficiency comes with the base class.
Baked in.
It just has parentheses that says optional, because if your world doesn't have firearms, then obviously that would apply. But if you're playing in a world that has firearms, then the artificer would be proficient, which is why it's not a third level thing, right? So archery applies to all ranged weapons, not just longbows and stuff, but that would give you a +2 on your attack rolls with those. Then you get the defense idea. If you're wearing armor, you get an extra +1 if you want to boost your AC. And then we have an interesting one that is like, I don't know how official it is technically, but I've had it in my games. I think it's dope as hell. It's really fun, and it just makes people who want to make a ranged based character have a better time in D&D. And that is close quarters shooter.
Yeah.
So pretty much it just removes that
penalty.
Disadvantage.
Yeah.
When you have somebody within 5 feet of you, you're like under threat, and therefore all ranged attacks now are at disadvantage. And even if you're not shooting the person who is right up next to you, just having somebody close by is enough to ruin your entire time. And so with this one fighting style, you can totally get rid of that. So now you can shoot people point blank, and it can be much more realistic. Because, I mean, unless you're Jason Bourne, having a gun, it doesn't matter how close they are. Like, you can't kung fu your way out of getting the gun away. It's scary as hell. So, those are the fighting styles that I have given this particular artificer. And then I chose Smith's tools as a proficiency because, again, I'm playing with the idea that you're an inventor. So you already have Tinker tools. The base class starts with just Thieves tools. Doesn't even start with Tinker tools. And then, so I added on Smith tools. That made sense to me. Smithing your own bullets, making your own pieces of gun work and stuff. And then I just added on this idea. For now, I just called it Gunsmith. But this idea of, like, you know how you can make infused items and stuff? Yeah. Like every long rest or whatever, and sometimes you choose to infuse an item with a +1 and this and that. Just building on that idea, but making it specifically towards the firearms. Hence the name Gunsmith. And so I came up with 3. They're all based on video games for the most part, right? Scope.
Right.
You can make a scope for one of your firearms. And I suppose technically you could do this for other people in the group too who also use firearms. It's just like is beholden to the idea of firearms specifically.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see why you couldn't put a scope on a fucking bow, but still.
I mean, there are scopes.
No, I know, right?
They do that, yeah. So scope was like just a +1 to attack bonus?
Either that or literal range difference.
Okay.
Just like, I wouldn't necessarily want to do like the whole sniper range thing. Right. But it would only work for that one gun. That is an idea. Like, just you don't have the disadvantage at range while this weapon has a scope.
Okay.
And there's also like unwritten, I didn't write it in here, but like there's the idea of like you can only do one of these per day, or like your proficiency bonus divided by 2 times per like that way you can't just be like a scope on this gun and then a scope on this gun tomorrow and then this other gun tomorrow. It's like you can only have X number of them in existence.
A number of infusions that they can have. Like at level 3, you can have 2 infusions total.
Right. Yeah.
And so, would these count as infusions?
I wasn't thinking of counting them as infusions. I don't want to.
Okay.
Yeah, it plays into the idea of infusions in the sense of you can do a certain number of them per day and stuff, but I don't want it to count against the number.
Right. Artificers also get an interesting thing at level 3. Actually, I think it's level 1. The magical tinkering. And that more uses of that would be awesome. So basically, magical tinkering lets you make a tiny non-magical object with a magical property of your choice. So
Yes.
adding these things, and then that would give you, and you can only affect a maximum of 3 objects at a time. So I think that would be a good use. Just have them work as your like additional magical tinkering things, as opposed to your infusions.
Yeah.
Which
I
like
dig
honestly, I've had in Sphinx City, I've had magical tinkering this whole time. I've not used it one time.
Yeah.
3 of these things that I can do a day, I've never used them.
For sure. So yeah, that could absolutely be where this works. And so the idea of a scope, you can increase distance. It could be the just straight up, you don't get disadvantage at its full range. You could get a little more technical about it and be like, it adds 50% to the range. So that way you're not getting the full distance, but you're still getting extra distance. But it depends on how mathematical you want to get. And then the second idea is a laser. This would help with, quote unquote, in video games, it usually helps with hip firing, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's a D&D equivalent of figuring that out. It could just mean something simple like a +1 or something. I don't know. But some idea with the laser. I'm just going for like gun attachments, obviously, is the vibe here, right?
Right. So with the +1 thing, I hesitate to do that because that is a full infusion. A +1 is a full use of an infusion. So a laser,
it might not even work. It might just be like we can't figure out a way to make the laser work and we just pick a different one.
I would
I just went for the rule of 3, so I'm just putting 3 ideas under each one.
Right.
Because my other idea is a full metal jacket, and that's specific to the bullet, obviously, right? But the idea of having a bullet that just maybe helps going through armor, or maybe it does siege damage, like against objects and structures. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I like the FMJ thing. I'm getting hung up on the laser. What if we did, instead of a laser, a flashlight, 15-foot cone of bright light, and then another 15 feet past that, so a 30-foot cone past that of dim light.
Hell yeah.
Like a flashlight attachment on your
that totally works.
On your gun.
Yeah. And then you could probably think of a billion others. You could get, in theory, you could get so technical, you could treat it like invocations, where it's like, at 5th level, you've unlocked this possible gunsmith thing.
Right,
you know, like, it depends on how intense you want to get, because there's a million types of actual gun. You could add a foregrip, and maybe that does something. You could add a stock, and maybe it does this. You know? You could go absolutely bananas with it.
Add a bayonet.
Yeah, honestly, dude, there's so many ideas. And then we have at 5th level extra attack. I just added that on there. It's been so long since I've looked at the other artificer subclasses. I know. Does the armor get extra attack at a certain point?
I don't know.
I think their armor is able to do 2 attacks, but I could be wrong.
I'm pulling it up right now. They do.
Right. Back. 5th level, you can attack twice. Yep. I knew it. 2 attacks at level 5 for the armor. Feel like kind of the same vibe. Might as well. Level.
So, yeah. The armorer and the artillerist, the battlesmith both get extra attack at level 5. So, having level 5 be extra attack, A-OK peachy keen.
Amazing. And we could keep it that simple, because just being an artificer, getting 2 attacks, that's always pretty solid at level 5.
You also got some better spells at that level.
Absolutely.
All that stuff.
Yeah, so I think that's good as is, pretty much.
Yep.
As for 9th and 15th level, I'm trying to think of Frankie and trying to think of this idea of being a artificer cowboy, because obviously the difference is that Frankie is a pirate and a shipwright. But there's some interesting ideas. I mean, you could just have huge, instead of doing what we were joking around about before and having the gunsmith thing be like, and also here's these cool ideas at 5th level. At 9th level, you could do that and just have there be like more attachments that are like actually like really dope, like a grappling hook or fucking grenade launcher or something, or
Right.
like crazy
mean,
stuff.
Yeah, and I think at 9th level, I think it would be okay. I'm just checking to see how many infusions you can have at level 9. You can have 3 infusions at level 9. I would honestly say at level 9, you get an additional list of infusions that you can know and have them be these bigger, better things. Because 9th level infusions are no joke either. I mean, you can make Boots of Flying. You can make all kind of crazy shit at level 9 as an artificer. Just with the straight up regular infusions.
Some extra gun-based infusions. I also just need to put down
duplicate
on here.
magical weapon is crazy. Or not magical weapon, but duplicate magical item. You can just kind of, or replicate magical item.
Yeah.
Let's see. At level 6, you get Boots and Cloak of Elvenkind. You can make Cloak of the Manta Ray. You can make Pipes of Haunting. You can make Gloves of Thievery, Rings of Water Walking. And then at level 10, it gets even crazier.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think adding extra infusions would be cool just because I don't necessarily really like having like a list of all of these things for magic items. I'd love to be able to just add them onto my current stuff, you know?
Hell yeah.
Flamethrower, grenade launcher, good. Rail gun. Okay.
Doesn't make as much sense for cowboy stuff. We're getting away from cowboy stuff.
We're getting away from cowboy stuff a little bit. Gatling gun.
So
would be cool.
were we with the laser?
Yeah. Laser and the flashlight.
Too.
Yeah.
We were getting ahead of ourselves, but I think I like the extra gun-based infusion idea, though. We could put more time into making them more cowboy themed, or obviously with an artificer, you're already playing into the idea that technology is somewhat advanced in some way, shape, or form, whether it's steampunk-based railguns or what, you know, Wild Wild West exists. So, God, that's all really funny ideas. I just added on there that at level 3, most of the artificer subclasses also get a list of prepared spells.
Yes.
At level 3, so that's something else to consider that we would have to come up with eventually. Just a list of the different spells that you get at those 5 different levels. But we don't have to figure that out right this second, at least. Any ideas for...
Is the Alchemist going on our Patreon? Or is it... I mean, we can give both of these to Ryan.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
this one needs a little bit of fleshing out.
A little bit of fleshing out, no doubt. Because at 9th level, the extra gun-based infusion sounds really, really good. Maybe there's another tiny thing in there that you could give at 9th level. But
9th level also you get, additional spells too, which we can get.
No doubt. Yeah, spellcasters are always going to get extra things. But maybe, like, it could be pretty small too. Maybe it's just like 1 casting a day of Fine Steed.
That's really good. I like that. I love Fine Steed.
Because what a fun idea to be able to
have a horse,
have a gunslinger and the horse now.
I really like that idea.
Is really fun, and then maybe like the idea is that the flavor of it is like it is more mechanical. You know what I mean? Like maybe you made the horse. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
So then at 15th level, the highest subclass ability that we can get as artificers, who is a cowboy gunsmith. I mean, once again, you could play into even more hardcore gun-based infusions. Like you could make a minigun.
I'm
one
imagining
of those turret guns or something insane.
Thinking about Marvel Rivals, just a like a Punisher alt of having a bunch of guns just show up all around your body.
Oh yeah,
and doing one crazy, like being able to just for a very short amount of time be able to do some insane shit.
I got you right here.
Yeah, the gun show. Yeah, there we go. Okay, there we go. We found a home for it.
Guns pop out from everywhere and anywhere. And lay down fire.
Just for funsies, oh man, I really want to be like, this form gives you all of the gunslinger infusions ready to rock and roll. So like you, even though you're only allowed a certain number of infusions per day, you can, for like a minute, you have a flamethrower, a grenade launcher, and a railgun, and you can use them how you please. Get her done.
Get her done. The gun show. I love that it came back up.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, I love that idea. Just guns popping out of everywhere and just being like, having like
just going nuts. I want to add like just the thoughts of just explosions and fire and like a big old machine gun just mowing shit down. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Locked and loaded. Armed and dangerous. You could also just name the ability that. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So many funny ideas. Yeah. Because we could come up with a million different gun-based infusions and take the time to think about the gunsmith spells and stuff. There's so many interesting ones. You could, because this is ideally a range-based artificer, half-caster. The other range-based half-caster that comes to mind is the ranger. So you could borrow some cool ideas from the ranger spell list to add to the gunsmith spells.
Yeah.
You know,
sure.
like lightning arrow, or it just is one example. Pretty cool. Is there an infusion that exists for artificers to do elemental damage? Like to change your weapon's damage type?
It's radiant weapon that turns it radiant. Enhanced weapon, enhanced thing. Looking right now. So many. No, doesn't look like it.
Okay. Because that's another direction you could go to. Is instead of thinking of attachments for the gun, you could think of how to alter bullets.
Yeah.
Or like the bullets themselves. Like maybe you do a sonic bullet where you can see through things, or like, you know, it creates a sonic echolocation kind of thing, or maybe you create a bullet that bounces off of walls, or scatter shots, or I don't know. There's a million ideas.
Yeah, it'd be cool. Ideas. That would be a fun other use for the tinkering, the magical tinkering stuff. Some additional options for that, of like just having like one-off use things of like, hey, you've got the grenade launcher infusion. You can make like a sonic grenade that actually does thunder damage instead of
or a healing grenade.
Right.
It's a fun idea. You could also, do another idea.
Because I just really don't like how useless magical tinkering is. It's really, there's no use for it.
The ideas that they give you are not stellar.
Yeah.
The ideas that they give you off the front, right? Because it's like, this one sheds, this sheds light. You're like, oh, sick, dog.
5 feet of light. Oh boy.
Sick. Thank you. May I have another ability that's better?
Please, for the love of God.
Yeah, right. It is a little crazy. A static visual effect appears. An object continuously emits your choice of an odor or a nonverbal sound. Yeah, they're very basic. It's giving prestidigitation and druidcraft and stuff,
but
where
with
it's like
more steps.
Full creativity dependent.
Right.
And so definitely adding some cool ideas.
Except it's not even a cantrip. You can only do it 3 times a day.
That is true. I guess, doing it on some objects. I mean, you could get creative with the ones that they've given you.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely.
One of the following, it is crazy. So I definitely agree adding some. Oh, what's this one here though? I'm seeing an Unearthed Arcana. They added a 5th one to magical tinkering, because there's 4 normally on Wikidot. The 5th one here, it says you can supply yourself with the refreshing beverage of a Fresca, cold from the fridge.
Oh, God damn it, Justin. Okay, that's all we can get into this time. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at So You Want to Be a DM. Or you can ask us a question. So You Want to Be a DM at gmail.com. If you like the episode, don't forget to give us 5 stars and a review wherever you found us. And check out the Patreon and the Twitch with the link in the description. Also, check out the merch with the link in the description.
Merch!
Join us next time for more Dungeon Master tips and tricks.
Bye!
See you.
And now I have the honor of giving a shout out to the members of our Patreon gang. Nub Muffins, may Paylor's light shine upon you. And then there's Tappy and Molly. We appreciate each and every one of you. Tune in next time for more tips and tricks from So You Wanna Be a DM.